Hey guys, pardon me while I share this. Copy. Go ahead and send a slick text out. If you are not subscribed to that, go ahead and text gently led to 31996. This just kind of lets people know. All right, and then I'm going to go here so I can see the live chat. Hey guys, hi Amanda. Hello, Brianne. Hello, Joyce. I'm good to see you guys. Okay, so let me minimize that so I can see the chat. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I just got that at, where did I get that? Oh, Kohl's, one of my favorite stores. Thanks. Okay, can you guys hear me loud and clear? It looks like you can. So, I am by myself tonight, so I figured I would just do like, I don't know how long ago. I don't know if I'll go an hour. Do you guys really like it when I go an hour? I feel like that's how long all my shows always are, but go ahead and leave your comments and things in the chat as we're going through this. It looks like, okay, I am here. All right, I think everything is ready to go. I wanted to kind of just do a little update too, a little family update. I don't know if you guys are my Facebook friends. If you're not, I'm really sorry if your name is like in my waiting list of friend requests that I never approve. I have like almost 100 right now sitting there. I tend to not approve them lately unless I know you in real life or unless I grew up with you or something like that. I don't know. I'm getting more choosy with my friends, and no offense if your name is like sitting there in my waiting list not being approved. I'm getting a little more choosy just because I've been burned a lot. So I kind of tend to only do the ones I really know. Hey, Amy. That's weird, Joyce. I don't know why the text isn't working. Hi, Ashley. Hi, Jessica. Oh, congratulations. 10 years. Nice. Nice. Okay. But I wanted to show you guys, I'm doing it through Zoom tonight, as you can see, because I wanted to show you pictures of my kitchen and what I've been doing this last month. We are going on a month now of different projects around our house. Let me see if I can show you, first of all, Tommy's room that we just finished. And we have a contractor here, the one that also did the church, the front part of the church when we were remodeling. We've been hiring him to do our house, and he's been doing a really good job. He just takes a long time. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so this was Tommy's room. These are all my stories. I pretty much just put everything on my story on my Facebook. Let me see if I have any from his room. Sorry, you guys are like seeing a bunch of stuff as I'm scrolling. Oh, there's little Kelly with her little cast. Let's see. Where is his room? I did an actual post about this. Okay, well, I can't find his room. Sorry about that. But let's go up here to this front part of our auditorium. This is what our contractor did. So let me find it up here. Lots of cute pictures. Cute, cute, cute. This is what it looks like. Pretty much. It's not totally done, but this was his room. We took the back part of the garage and we put an actual bathroom in it. This is like, these aren't totally done. Obviously, you can see it's not totally done, but that's that. But let me show you my kitchen. Okay, so we started, this is one of the ones that we did. Let me make this a little bigger. Okay, so as you can see, we had old cupboards. That's my schoolroom. I don't know why it's going to that, but we ripped out, this was all backsplash back here. We ripped all that out. We ripped out pretty much, I guess doing that. It's like going through my stories without it doing. Okay, we ripped that all out, and this is what it looks like bare. Oh, I see. So I can't even stop it. So you're gonna have to look quick. That was it bare. We just tore out this wall last week. And then as we slowly started getting stuff in, these are the cupboards I picked out. And they're from Menards, but they're very comparable to the ones here in town. So those are, I got an overhead range, which I've never had, which was nice. Oh yes, this is for you guys. At least after a long, hard day of motherhood, you can look forward to a long, hard night of motherhood too. So this is gonna be my flooring. You can see it's like a laminate, it's waterproof. And then my kids are always like, Mom, why do you tilt the picture? I don't know, so I can get more in, but that's what it looks like there. Let me see if I have any more. Okay, so my backsplash is gonna be this. I love this. It's not grouted yet. These are my countertops. It's not real granite, but it looks like it. We looked at real granite, but it's nice because I did get a new dishwasher, but all my appliances, the drawer's not in, but all my appliances match, which is really nice. And this stove is the one that someone from church got for me from a garage sale for very cheap. It's used, but then also, let me see if I have a picture. I don't think I do. I have a new fridge that I got for free, but here it kind of shows you the old. This was the dark cabinets, and then this is it now. So it's looking like a completely different house. There's all my flooring that I got. That was our last big purchase. I got my cabinet pulls in, and I can't see the chat right now, so I'll look at it when I go back. But then we had a wall in between here, and we just ripped that out this past week, and voila. I think what I'm going to do here is he's going to put something over this. I don't know what, but this I'm just going to leave, but I'm going to stain it. So I'm going to stain that. Yeah, so slap some stain on it and it's going to look really good. He just put an outlet here and then this is all from the wedding that we just had this last week. And that's why I even thought about this topic, but okay. So that just kind of shows you guys. Let me go back to the live stream. All right, there we go. Okay, so yes, that is your Biden bucks. Hard at work. We had to decide if we were going to move and try to upgrade to a bigger home because we're just outgrowing our house. It's pretty small, but with the extra space with my son in the back now with that finished room, that opened up a lot more space. I'm opening up my house. We took French doors out between the kitchen and the schoolroom, and then we're taking out half that wall. And I just like the open concept. I feel like it makes it seem bigger. So, but yeah, thanks. I love the color of the new cabinets as well. I wanted a gray. I almost went with a different color. My husband was set on wood, but I just have PTSD from my last cabinets because they were like that dark. They were just, oh, I hated them so much. I had PTSD. Like every single cabinet on the bottom was broken. We were always using Gorilla Glue, gluing them back together. It was horrible. So I wanted a completely different look. So I like the farmhouse look. So I went with that, but it is turning out really nice. So if you guys want to, sometimes I post, like I said, if I recognize you from the chat, I'll accept your friend request. But if I don't know you in real life, I probably might have missed. You just let me know if you are a GLS listener and you want to be my Facebook friend. I don't know, email me and tell me your name and then I'll accept that friend request. But you can always join the Gently Led Sisters group as well on Facebook. You just have to answer the questions that has to do with those when you join. So yeah, I do have cabinet PTSD. Abby does too. We have these corner cabinets like the Lazy Susans, and those were always falling. And a few times they almost fell on my foot. They would just completely fall off when you would try to open it. And every time she goes to like open it, she always thinks they're going to fall. So she like very careful. And then she's like, oh, wait, these ones are fine. So she has PTSD too from that. So that's pretty funny. But that's my life. I am taking a couple months off of teaching piano just because there's so many projects going on right now. And it was just a little too much. It was too noisy. It was too much chaos. And then sometimes we needed, like when they were busting down the wall, we needed to leave and stuff. So, I've taken a couple months off of that. I'm hoping it will all be done here in the next couple of weeks. And then, definitely in time for school and then starting back up piano lessons and all that. So anyways, okay. So Lemuel said, hey, I'm looking for a wife and I would really appreciate any prayers. God bless. Well, God bless you in that endeavor. he who finds a wife finds a good thing. So I really hope that you find one and pray that you find one. Always remember, when you're looking for a wife, if you're a single guy, this is something we've told our sons, you are going to have to do a little bit of work to get there. Don't think that, she's just going to come along to your church and, sometimes you have to seek her. You have to go find her. You have to invest. You have to take chances. You have to go to where she is. So we've told my boys that. And we said, don't just expect her to come walking in church one day. Sometimes you have to do some work for it. So that's the piece of advice I would give you. Start visiting some good IFB churches. You're going to have a lot better chance finding a good, solid girl in an IFB church than pretty much anywhere else on the planet. So that's my suggestion. That's what I would tell my sons. So, okay, but let's get into the topic. So, disclaimers. My marriage is not your marriage. Your husband is not my husband. This is stuff, all these tips are things that have worked for us, and some are tied into biblical principles, but my marriage is not your marriage. My husband is not your husband. What works for mine might not work for yours, vice versa. Okay. So just letting you know that, throwing that disclaimer out there. Obviously, if your husband likes things a different way, listen to your husband. Don't listen to me. I think that's just common sense. I am just putting Titus 2 into practice and trying to share some of the experience, because a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about, I honestly wish someone would have told me this. A lot of the stuff that I do talk about on Gently Led Sisters, I wish someone would have told me that. And even though I was raised in an IFB church most of my life, and I did have good role models to look to, we didn't have a lot of the social media stuff. We didn't have, YouTube wasn't really big. So I didn't really have a lot of, most of the stuff I gleaned was from books or, the Bible, obviously the Bible, number one, and then following just good godly examples. I didn't really have anyone sitting down, an IFB woman that I looked up to, sitting down and talking about this stuff. So, that's why I do this, just to be a help to anyone that's new to all this. So obviously I have to put those disclaimers out there. Hi, Janello. Yes, Joyce, you have a really cool story. Joyce, I would love to actually have you on the show sometime. If you would be up to that. You have a really, really neat story. If you would want to share that, I would love to have you on the show. So email me about that, gentlyledsisters@gmail.com. But the first thing I want to say about marriage is, obviously marriage is for keeps. So you have to be incredibly careful about who you marry. My goal as a mom is to raise good, godly kids. And if they marry, I want all my kids to marry someone pure. Yes, I'm into the purity culture, and I believe strongly in the purity culture. I do not believe that it demeans women. In fact, I believe that it builds women up, and that it, encourages good, godly marriages. I do not think that it demeans women by any stretch of the imagination. There's a lot of trendies that very, very triggered over the mention of purity or the purity culture. And I don't believe that way. I believe it's a good thing. So my goal is that all of my kids will marry good, godly young people, and they'll stay in church for the rest of their life, and they'll raise good families for the Lord, and they'll serve him. That's it. And so, as I've always imagined, as we got to this point, which I'm getting closer now with my older kids, now my two oldest are adults. I'm getting closer to the time when they'll be getting married, and I always imagine myself being very fearful, but so far so good. So I'm not fearful. I'm excited about their future, and so. Just remember that when you get married, you go into this, be very serious about it. You're not going to get a do-over. It's for keeps. And so keeping that in mind, be very choosy about who you decide to marry, realizing that there are no do-overs. You have to work through problems. You have to work through disagreements. Disagreements are a part of life, and you are going to have to work through that. So don't even ever threaten divorce. Those first 5 years, I've actually heard that the first 5 years are the hardest. And if you can make it through the first 5 years, you're doing really well, because most divorces actually happen in the first 5 years. So, just keep it in mind when you get married, each problem must be worked through. There are no outs. So knowing that there are no outs, um, knowing that there are no outs, you always have to keep that in mind, so that you know that if a problem does arise, and there will be problems, there will be clashes in personality. Also remember that you two were both raised in completely different backgrounds. I feel like the longer you're married, the closer you get, the more time you spend. Because like my husband and I have now been married as long as we were single. So we got married when we were 20. We've been married 20 years now. So I feel like we're meshed more now than when we first got married, 20 years from completely different backgrounds growing up, different stories, different things that happened in your life. I had lost a dad and had death in the family. He had never been through loss, different things like that. So just remember that each problem must be worked through. You have a lifetime ahead of you, so you don't need to get everything perfected at once. You don't need to have this picture perfect, relationship where he buys you flowers every week, and you are waiting with this beautiful meal with pearls and high heels every day when he comes home. There's going to be things that you got to work through when you first get married. So, but that being said, don't let problems build up. I feel like a lot of things, even in, just day-to-day relationships and friendships and different things like that, I feel like if you don't get to the root of the problem, things tend to grow, sometimes without you even knowing. My husband preached a really good message yesterday called something along the lines of the difficulty of online relationships or something. He kind of touched on this. And, sometimes the hard part with online relationships, which obviously when you're married, this isn't going to be an online relationship, is that you don't know if someone has a problem with you. So you can't address it. But when you are married and problems pop up, you can address it. You can get to the root of it. So, and I feel like too, you need to learn. I tend to be, I have a very strong-willed, stubborn personality, which is not all bad. I try telling people this. It's not all bad, because my strong-willed personality has been what's kept me going. It's not a cakewalk. Being 20 years in the ministry, when any job that you're dealing with people all the time, it's going to have its up and downs. I love being in the ministry. I love my church, but getting to this point was very hard, because we started the church, just our family, and then we're coming up on 10 years now, but it was a long process getting to this point. So it definitely, I don't even know where I was going with that. I think something with the problems. I don't know. You learn to work through the problems, and I don't know. I don't even know where I was going with that. Anyways, every marriage is different. Okay, so some marriages have problems unique to their situation. Obviously my marriage is going to have situations pop up that maybe a layperson's marriage isn't going to have, just being in the ministry. So, Amanda, I agree. Both sermons from Liberty yesterday were fantastic. My husband is doing a series on basically calling out the sins of the IFB and what exactly goes on in the IFB that's not good. He dealt with cover-ups. I believe next week he's going to deal with abusing power or something like that. So that'll be a good one too. So, but he had to do it on his burner channel because he got a strike for something really stupid. One of his podcasts, they were talking about George Floyd or something and got a strike. So it was really dumb. But yeah, and I agree, Joyce. She said, my issues from my past make me super sensitive to having tensions between us, which means we have to work through things on the spot. And that is one thing too. I feel like I'm rambling on. I have a big, long thing of notes. But with my husband and I came from a family that wasn't afraid of confrontation. So basically, if me and my siblings had a problem with each other, or I had a problem with my mom, we would just deal with it and we would talk about it. He came from a family that still, even his sisters, they don't like confrontation at all. And I think it's partly because his mom hates confrontation. So she will do everything in her power to not have to confront a problem or something going on. She'd rather just ignore it and just smooth it over. She, and just move on. She doesn't really want to. She'd rather have her feelings hurt than deal with someone who hurt her feelings, if that makes sense. So a lot of times with different things, he would just want to pretend like it didn't happen, where I needed to talk about it. If anyone knows me, they know that I don't do well at burying my emotion. So I feel much better if I can vent about it or talk about it to someone. So I always would want to stay up late, like hashing out these problems. Well, he hated it because he hates confrontation like that. So, you kind of learn to compromise. Oh, I think I was going to be talking about compromising on different things when I went off on that tangent earlier. But yeah, you learn what's a big deal and what's not a big deal. You learn that there's things that are non-negotiables and things that are negotiable. Like before you get married, I would definitely talk about some non-negotiables, and that would be, how many kids does he want? How many kids do you want? That's a big, huge thing. If you can't agree on that, if he wants no kids and you want 10 kids, big problem. Do you have the same like doctrinal beliefs? You don't, if you're an IFB Baptist, you're not going to want to marry a Catholic. Are they even saved? If they're, Catholic, obviously salvation is the number one thing. You both need to be saved. But even just as far as what church do you want to go to? Are you going to raise your kids in the same type of church? Are you going to raise them in a trendy church? Are you going to raise them in an IFB church? Are you going to raise them in a Pentecostal church? Obviously, these are big non-negotiables. But then there are negotiables, okay? That could be like what style you're going to decorate your house in. I've found with my husband, he doesn't care. He couldn't care less. So I kind of do what I want. Maybe even a non-negotiable could be, I don't know, like clothing. Not talking about as far as modesty clothing, but style of clothing. Let's say you have a particular style. He doesn't really care. He just likes it when he knows you always look nice. So that's kind of how my husband is. Men really aren't into fashion, different things like that. A non-negotiable would be like, he likes fast food and it bugs you because you're like all organic. That's something you can work on. My husband was a junk food junkie before we got married. And because I was home cooking every night, now he tends to have a healthier palate. So, we morphed into each other that way. So, yeah. Sarah, I would say that's a negotiable. She said, make sure you agree with what way the toilet paper goes. I hope that's a negotiable with you. So Angelique, also make sure they're happy with traditional marital roles. Correct. Are you marrying someone that wants you to work, and you just want to be a stay-at-home wife and mom? That's going to be a huge issue if he wants you to go out and get a job. Or is he willing to be, I'm the man, I will provide the paycheck, So there are some negotiables and some non-negotiables that you definitely need to go through before you get married. But then there's other things that you can compromise on if they aren't big deals to you. So that's your number one deal breaker. That's funny. Okay, so but yeah, every marriage has problems unique to their situation. If you're married to a police officer, obviously you're going to deal with things in your marriage that I'm not going to deal with being married to a pastor. If you're married and you can't have children, your set of problems are going to be different than the person that has, 6 or 7 children. So also, sometimes there's stepkids involved. If the man has a child from a previous relationship, you have to take that into consideration when you're going to get married, because they're going to be in your life, forever from that point on. Or even, what about a past? And the whole past thing for me was a deal breaker. I didn't want someone with a past. I had kept myself pure and I wanted a pure guy. So that was a deal breaker for me. So, know your priorities. And this is just kind of aimed from single people right now, but know your priorities and know that each marriage will look different once you get to that point. So, but learn the ins and outs of your spouse. Once you get married, no one else's spouse matters. Okay. Once you get married, your no longer, as far as guy and a girl, subject to your parents' authority. Now, that doesn't mean that you go and, you start dishonoring them. You should always honor your parents. But if you have busybody in-laws or busybody parents, you can kindly but firmly tell them, okay, but I'm going to do what my husband wants in this situation. Just like I love how Joyce said when I told her I wanted her on the show, she was going to check with her husband. Always check with your husband, make sure he's okay with things. And I have found too that a lot of times if there's a situation that comes up, it's a little awkward and you just don't know what to do, husbands don't mind taking the blame. Say, I talked to my husband and he'd rather I not do that. There you go. That's nice when you're in a, marriage where you believe in that the husband is the head of the home. So do what works for your marriage, because every husband's different. Every guy's different. I mean, they all pretty much have the same basic needs, but they are all different. So they all have different things that trigger them. They all have likes and dislikes. Many of you know that my husband hates a food item. I'm not even going to say, I'm going to wait for someone to put it in the chat. What is the food item that he hates? And I know you guys know it. So I'm going to wait. But yeah, he hates this certain type of food item. So I had to figure out a way. I was a good cook when we got married, but I had to figure out a way to not cook the way I grew up because this food item was in our house like every night for every meal. Yeah, he does. Yep. Bingo to both. Cheese and pasta. He doesn't like any of those. So you know what I do? When everyone's getting it now. When I go to restaurants, he does not like lasagna. Oh, lasagna is like his top. Never eating that. But whenever I go to restaurants, like last night, we went out to this little restaurant here in town, A's Kitchen, after church, and I order my pasta then. So I ordered cheese ravioli. Now, to him, that's like the nastiest plate in the world. But to me, it's like heaven. So that's kind of where we compromise. I don't make it in my home, but I'll eat it if I have a craving for it when we go somewhere else. And that's just part of putting his needs ahead of mine. I could be selfish and be like, you know what, you're eating it, deal with it. In fact, when we were paying off our debt, we had to eat spaghetti as a cheap meal. And we had to eat that occasionally. And I did make it because it was just a cheap meal, but he wasn't very happy every time I made it. So yeah. Angeli said, yeah, not liking lasagna is a deal breaker. But see, that's the thing, Angeli. Just have your husband take you on a date and then you eat your lasagna and he eats a steak. And that's exactly what he ate last night. He ate steak. I ate my cheese ravioli. We were both happy. And it works for us. So, find different ways like that to compromise. Know what your husband likes, know what he dislikes. I always joke with mine because I feel like, this is just me, I don't know if he probably would agree. I feel like I know him better than he knows me. Because like if we went to a restaurant and sat down, and he says this because I like all different things and he never knows what I'm in the mood for when it comes to food. But if we went to a restaurant, I could order perfectly for him what he eats. And if I had him pick out, I don't think he could do it. Because even sometimes I want a cherry Coke, but sometimes I want hot tea. Sometimes I want coffee. So I don't know if he could do it. But and here's the thing, I order different drinks to go with different meals, So I don't know. Like if we go to Maples and I order an omelet, I get coffee. But if at Maples I eat a gyro, I get a soda. So different drinks go with different meals, right? So I always tell him, I always joke with him and then sometimes he'll even show me the menu if we're at a new place and he'll be like, Sandra, will I like this? And I'll know exactly. I'll read the list of ingredients. Okay, order it this way. Tell them to take this sauce off and this cheese off. And, obviously he always takes off cheese, but tell him to take this sauce off and tell him to take this sauce off. I know exactly what he'll like. So it's pretty funny. That kind of just happens. I think it's part of our way of respecting and honoring our husband by knowing them, getting to know them, getting to know their likes, getting to know their dislikes. And then like, even when I'm at the store, I'm always thinking of him, always thinking of what kind of snack does he like? I know he likes potato chips. I know he likes ice cream sandwiches. So I try to always just grab something special that he likes. So yeah, nobody really does understand a woman. That is for sure. What you could do, Ashley, for a husband that doesn't eat veggies, you could make shakes. I tend to, when we were first married, especially, I would make kefir and I would make kefir shakes, and my husband would actually drink them because I would load them with like yogurt and spinach and berries, and it was a way of getting nutrition into him doing something like that. So as long as I make it good, but he still talks about the time. Okay, this is so funny. So I had some baby food that my kids weren't eating anymore and I needed to get rid of, but it was like fruit baby food. Okay. So it was like bananas or something. And I put a jar into the smoothie and he was drinking it and he was like, "Did you put baby food in this?" And I'm like, "How did you know that?" And he still brags that he could taste the baby food in the smoothie. So if you have bananas, baby food, don't put it in a smoothie because your husband might not like it. So yeah, learn their love language. You know, there's 5 main love languages. There's a book out there, love languages for kids, love languages for a spouse. There's like quality time, gifts, physical touch, acts of service, and there's one more, but I can't remember it. And I believe both mine and him would be right around quality time. We both really, really like quality time. Maybe his is a little bit of acts of service. I feel like with men, a lot of it is acts of service or physical affection for them. But, you know, it could be different for people. So, okay. Yeah, Sarah, you're really lucky about that. She said, I could pick anything off a menu and Aaron would love it. Benefits of not having a picky husband. Yeah, well, my husband's not that way, but I know words of affirmation. That's it. See, I always forget that one because I guess it's not a big deal with me. So mine is definitely quality time, which is why weekly dates are really important to me. So, remember why you fell in love with your husband. And I had one of my friends from church brought this up. Often what irritates you the most is why you fell in love with him. Okay. So like for me, one of the things that I really fell in love with my husband is he's a super, super hard worker. And he's just always like, go, 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 go. Always wanting to do something fun. Always wanting to go on some adventure, never staying at home. I mean, he like is barely ever home. He cannot sit. He's just got ADD or something. So that's one of the reasons I fell in love with him. Well, now it can be very irritating if I just need a down day. I'm like, can we please not do this? Can we please not go here? Or he's so spur of the moment. So he won't make any plans. Like, I'll know that we're getting ready to go on this trip and I'll be like, babe, when are we leaving? I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. So like literally, I don't know until the night before when I'm setting my alarm, when we'll be leaving the next day. So, you know, just different things like that, which that could either irritate you or, you know, you can just appreciate the fact that you have a husband and that, you know, he likes to have fun and just go along. I learned a long time ago, my kids, it drives my kids nuts now. Maybe it did with me in the first few years of marriage, but after 20 years, I just go with it. I just roll with it. I'll have people at church. So, you know, when are you leaving for your trip? You know, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm just, whenever he says we're going, that's when we're going. So I've just learned to live with it and roll with it and whatever. It's not worth getting stressed out over, for sure. Sometimes just remember in life, you know, especially when you're first married, you might not like each other very much. There's going to be days like that. Going to be really hard days. But if Christ is the foundation and you know you have to work through things, you will work through it. You know, there's never, all the years my husband and I have been married, you know, there's never been a threat of, I'm just going to leave you, or this is just too big of a problem. We can't work through it. No, we've always known that we had to work through our issues and work through our problems. So, you know, there's no outs, but keep Christ first. If you have your priorities right, it's going to help. And this just goes back to picking the right spouse. You know, be confident that he will be in church for the rest of his life. You know, if you are talking to someone and they're, you know, just wishy-washy about church attendance, it's probably not going to improve after you're married. So remember too, men don't really change after they get married. What you see is what you get for the most part. Most men aren't trying to hide things or, you know, trying I mean, I know there's the dating phase where they're putting their best foot forward, but when it comes to like spiritual matters or their walk with Christ or even just church attendance, what you see is usually what you get. So don't marry someone who's very sporadic about church attendance, thinking that, well, once we get married, he's going to want to go because I'm going every week or whatever. No, that doesn't always happen. And then the woman finds herself, in a situation where she's kind of like, am I the spiritual leader now? It's just, watch for that. So appreciate your spouse. Remember, you're going to go through seasons. I kind of skipped over the appreciate your spouse, but this is a big one, I believe, with men, because men need to be appreciated. They work hard, especially if you are a stay-at-home mom and your husband's working really, really tough. There was times in our marriage where my husband had to work 2 jobs to provide so I could stay home and homeschool the kids. And, he never once suggested, you need to get a job and pull your own weight. Obviously he never did that. So he would often work 2 different jobs. In fact, before he went full time at the church that we were at Lighthouse, he worked at Lighthouse, and then he also worked full time job. So I felt like every evening he was either soul winning or going somewhere, doing something at the church. So appreciate everything that he does for you and let him know, don't be a complainer. Part of being appreciative is not being a nagger, not being a complainer. We're going to kind of go through it in a minute, but be content with the home he's provided for you. Be content with the things that you have. Be content with your grocery budget, make it work. That's all stuff that we can do to show our husband that we appreciate him. And remember, you're going to go through seasons. And I've been through all of them so far. Well, all of them except for, my kids getting married and having grandkids. That's yet to come. But I've been through childbirth. I've been through pregnancy and childbirth and toddler and middle schooler and teenager and now adult. So I've been through almost every stage. And there's been different seasons where maybe you have a drought when it comes to just feeling close. But then remember, it's going to get better. Okay. So you're up every night with a crying baby. Obviously, it's hard to have alone time with your husband. It's hard to go on dates when you've got lots of little kids. Just hang in there. Salvage what time you can. That's why we were so picky when we had 3 kids that were 3 and under. We were super picky about getting them in bed at 7:30. So then we could have a couple hours just to recharge and refresh our relationship with each other. So that was a big deal to us. But it is definitely hard. When you got a lot of little kids, it is super hard. When you're pregnant, it is super hard. When you just gave birth, it is super hard. So just remember, you're going to go through seasons. Little kids especially, we had actually gotten to a phase in our life where all of our kids were out of diapers, all of our kids were out of car seats, and then we started over. So we had forgotten what it was like to have to buckle and unbuckle and wait, get them all out and all the stuff that you have to bring with little kids, and just how, you can't be out till 11 o'clock because you got these babies. So, and then when we started all over again, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. I have not discussed in-laws. What do you want to talk about in-laws with? I didn't put anything in here about in-laws during the first 5 years. I am, I feel like with me, it's hard for me to kind of give advice when it comes to in-laws, because I have a different personality than most when it comes to most women. And I'm not afraid of being firm with someone. Now, there's a difference between being mean and being firm. Okay, I want to make that distinction. You can be firm in a nice way. And I've kind of learned to fine tune that, through 20 years of marriage when it comes to different things. But I have had to put my foot down and say, listen, this is what we're doing with our kids, and it's our decision. They're not your kids. I know they're your grandkids, but they're our children, and we have to do what we feel is best for them. No one knows them like we do. So, there have been times in my life where I've had to put my foot down with my in-laws, and I've always been good at setting boundaries. So, if I am in a relationship where I feel like they are displaying narcissism, or they are being, aggressive or toxic, then I just kind of put a boundary there. I don't really need the extra stress in my life. So I've never had a problem doing that. If you have any other, I don't know, tell me what you want to know about in-laws. But like I said, with me, it's a unique situation. And I'm married to someone who appreciates and doesn't mind that I've got that direct and honest personality. There have been times where he's like, Cassandra, you know, just, I don't know, you don't have to ask. Because I tend to ask what the elephant in the room is. Um, but I'm married to someone who kind of knows my personality and appreciates it, and he doesn't mind me being a little bit more direct, where some husbands, when it comes to like their mom or their dad, they don't want their wives being direct or blunt with them. So just kind of go off of what your husband wants in that situation, I guess. I feel like I'm rambling, but I don't know. Just ask if you have a question, just go ahead and put it in there. Um, but one of the things that we've done in our marriage that has really helped, I feel, is we both had our own interests through the years. And for me, it's always been something musical, some type of musical or writing, blogging, now vlogging. And he's been very supportive of that. My husband's always had his own interests too, as far as working out, just taking some time to go do that by himself. He really likes kayaking and bow fishing, so he tries to do that once or twice a week. And as a wife, one of the best things that you can do to help his happiness and help his contentment is to allow him to go off without you sometimes. I mean, you don't have to be with each other 24/7. Sometimes it's good for men to get out in the wild and just sit and reflect. It's good for my husband to go out on the water and be by himself and get away from the stress of the ministry and the stress of our house too. I mean, we got lots of little kids. It's kind of chaos there sometimes. And obviously you want to try to provide a calm place for your husband, but there's going to be stressful times and stressful days. So yeah, I agree, Angeli. Don't become like brother and sister joined at the hip. Have your own interests, and like I said, once again, I'm married to someone who's not a micromanager, which I love. And so he doesn't try to micromanage everything I do. He accepts me. He accepts my bluntness. He accepts that I have other things I'm interested in besides cooking and baking. And I hate sewing, so that's out. I hate crafting, so that's out. He accepts that I have other interests and he encourages me in it. And you can do the same for your husband too. Encourage him to have an outlet, a way for him to ground himself and just release the stress and different things like that. So, that's one of my biggest things is I recommend that you get your own interests. And, through the first 5 years, you'll kind of work that out. You'll kind of, you have the honeymoon stage and then you have the back to reality stage. And then, as you start growing in your relationship and branching out, then you realize, and this is a little bit harder before you have kids because you have more time on your hands, but use the time. I would recommend use the time before you have kids to really develop your hobby. If you're into crafting, really take the time to do that before the kids. Because once you have kids, your life is not your own anymore. If you're into baking or cooking or sewing or whatever it is, definitely hone those interests before the kids come. So, learn that happiness doesn't exist in other people. Learn that it's not your husband's life goal to make you happy. And you might think that going into marriage, like, well, I've never been happy up until this point, but now that I'm married to Prince Charming, I'm going to be happy now. No, it doesn't happen like that. A switch is not just flipped. I'm married, so I'm happy. No, contentment is a heart issue, and you have to learn that before you get married. You have to learn to be content in your single years. If you're not content in your single years, you're not going to be content in your married years. You're not going to be content once your kids are gone. You're not going to be content, as empty nesters. Contentment is something that you have to learn and you have to do. Linda said my parents lived 1,000 miles away, but were in the same town, and his mom was the hardest thing for me to deal with. Yeah, that's really tough. I would say in the first 5 years, tell your husband how tough it is and ask if you can establish some boundaries. Because some women just, you have to establish those boundaries. They don't get social hints at all. So Joyce, aw, she said, we got COVID on our honeymoon and we're barely over that till I was pregnant. So not sure we ever lost touch with reality. No, I don't think you did. You were thrown right into it. Well, that's funny. You write your fairy tale. That's what, and this is coming from me, who nothing prepares you for marriage like marriage. You can think you're so prepared, but you don't know anything about anything until you're actually married and you're living with someone nonstop. So, nothing looks like the books. And I always have read like Christian romance. I never read any of the gross like romance books or anything like that, but I always read like Jeanette Oak. That was kind of the what I grew up reading. And so I had like this picture perfect, this is going to go this way and he's going to be so romantic and blah 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 blah. Well, that doesn't, I mean, my husband can be romantic if he wants to be, but that's not what the real life moments are made of. Real life moments aren't made of romance. The real life romance is having a man who you never have to wonder where they're at. Being married to a man who loves you and the kids more than anything else on this earth. Being married to a man who puts God first and loves God first more than anyone. I want my husband to love God more than me. I want my husband to be willing to lay down his life for the Lord first and then me and the kids. I want a man like that. That's real life romance. You write your own fairy tale. I feel like I'm living in a fairy tale. I'm married to someone who doesn't use profanity, doesn't cuss at me and the kids, doesn't throw things at us, is a wonderful father. His kids love him. I love him. He provides for us. We've never been late on a bill. He's always, if he had to, work extra jobs. He's allowed me to stay home and raise my kids. He's allowed me also to have my own hobbies. I've had eight kids with this man. That's a real life fairy tale right there. Not a prince riding in and swooping you up and buying you roses and chocolates. That might look good in the books, but yeah, I don't think I could cope with a relationship as dramatic as Francine Rivers either. Hers are very dramatic. I love my steady man, So, let me see. Yeah. A lot of people, Jessica, that are in the middle of that don't realize passive aggressive signs when they see it. So sometimes I feel like I am living a romantic comedy, Celine. Aw, that's sweet, Joyce. See, that's real romance there. She said, I don't need a lot of flowers. I appreciate a man who holds my hair while I throw up because I'm pregnant with his baby. Aw, that's the kind of romance that we need in our life. Could I please do a video or post about godly books for teenage girls and young ladies? Jeanette Oak is one. She's very godly, very clean. I read the Mandy books growing up. I love the Mandy books. There's a bunch of those. I'll have to like go to my mom's house and write down all the books that I used to read growing up, because I know they were all clean and they were all really, really good. So but yeah, what does your fairy tale consist of? I loved what Joyce said. Can you guys tell me what is some real romance in your life? Not a Francine Rivers book, but some real romance in your life. Stop comparing. Get off Facebook. If Facebook is like dragging you down, just get off and don't even look at the stuff on there, because it's fake book anyways. People only, and I'm the same way. No one's going to post about their horrible, horrible day and, the dog ran away, the toilet overflowed and the toddler fell and busted her lip. And I mean, obviously we might do like, stories here and there about it. Like some of my stories have it, but we're not going to do like whole posts about it. So we tend as people, as women, to post about the highlights of our days, the good times. So not everyone's life is like that. You don't know the backstory to all this stuff. So Grace Livingston Hill, that's another one. She's great. Great. Yeah, check out Karen Rodriguez. I would trust anything that she recommends. Our House, is that still the name of her channel, Angeli? Is it Our House? Look her up. If you just type in Karen Rodriguez Our House, that should come up. She recommends lots of books. She has lots of good books she recommends. But I would go check that out and Google that. So here's some of the real romance. Taking the kids to the park so you can cook dinner in peace. Oh, I remember those days before I had older kids that cooked or watched kids. My husband would do the same. When he helps in the kitchen. Now, I can't say this is real romance in my life because my husband's different. He doesn't help in the kitchen. But good for yours. See, that's once again where every marriage is different. Playing basketball together and having so much fun while doing it. I love how much fun I can have with my husband. That's awesome. We used to play Mario Kart and we were very competitive. We used to play games like that together. Not so much anymore. We haven't in years, but when we were first married, that was like our entertainment. And that was really fun. We would really get into that. We would play, there was a couple computer games, Riddle of the Sphinx. That was so much fun. It was like this computer, where you actually put the CD in or whatever. And that was really fun figuring that out together. So we would put the kids to bed at like 7 or 7:30, and then we'd sit there and we'd do like our Riddle of the Sphinx game. So, but yeah, stop comparing. Get off the things that stress you out. And then learn to be happy with your husband's personality, his quirks. That's where, once again, comparing comes in. Comparison is the thief of joy. That's one of my favorite quotes. Comparison is the thief of joy. So don't let anything steal your joy like that. Learn to like him as a person. Get to know him. Learn to know him. Don't micromanage him. A lot of women do this with their husbands, and I don't like it because it reminds me of like a mom to her son, just trying to micromanage everything he does. So let him be his own person. My husband knows a lot of times when I don't agree with him, but I'm not going to try to, stifle him. And I'm not talking about, there's obviously like times when maybe you need to do, maybe you need to do like, just go to him about an actual concern about something that you see, because you're going to know him more than anyone. So I'm not talking about, times like that, but those times should be rare. You shouldn't, if you're constantly like every day, honey, we need to have a serious talk. I'm very concerned about your spiritual walk. And, that's just you taking the reins and trying to be the spiritual leader. That's just, no man likes that. I don't think any man likes that. Like I said, all marriages are different, but I think it's pretty safe to say men don't like it when you're coming to them every day saying you really need to change this about yourself. I'm really concerned about your spiritual walk in this way. Men don't like that. So don't micromanage him. He's his own person. You are yours. Yes, you are one, but you are also unique, and, you don't need to micromanage each other. Just accept him for who he is. Enjoy him. Laugh at him. Not laugh at him. Laugh. For my husband, I remember when we were on our honeymoon, I was just laughing the whole time. He was so funny. And then, as you're very like longer, I think you just kind of become used to like the lame jokes, the lame dad jokes, as I call them, or whatever. But I just remember on my honeymoon, I was just laughing so much because he was just so much fun. And one of his life mottos is, if you have to do something, you might as well make it fun. So even when it comes to just stuff he doesn't like, particularly like yard work, he tries to make it fun. And that's one of the things that I like about him. So, support him. Don't belittle him. There's nothing more cringy than if you're around someone and a married couple and he does something that you can tell the wife doesn't like, and she's just like, what is wrong with you? Like in front of people. That's really embarrassing for the husband. And you probably make him feel about that big. So, respect is a big deal for husbands. So, and it's mutual. If you respect your husband, the chances are he's going to mutually return that and give you the respect that you want to. I mean, we all want respect as people, right? Even with our girlfriends, we wouldn't talk to our girlfriends the same way sometimes. And I feel like a danger in, living with someone is that you become super comfortable, which is good, but then you get a little too comfortable where you're like really mean. And you can be way more mean to someone that you're supposed to be the closest to. than like an acquaintance at church or something. And it shouldn't be that way. You should treat your spouse with, love and respect, the same love and respect that you want. So, um, men need their women to wholeheartedly get behind them as a person, to let them do their thing, to be their support, to respect them, to be their confidant when the world is against them, not to join in. There's so many people that hate my husband. And he's just doing his own thing, and there's people that think he's, not hard enough. There's people that think he's too hard. There's atheists that hate him. There's, IFB people that hate him. There's trendies that hate him. There's, I don't know, there's a big long list. The last person he needs to join in all that is his wife. So I feel like with men, at least with mine, the whole world can be against him and he's just like, whatever. But if I was to turn against him, that would get him, I think. So I don't want that to happen. I need to be, if he's having a down day, he needs someone to talk to about it. Be that person for him. Don't you be against him too. I think most men are that way. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like they have to be at battle out there, in the world, and they have to be on guard. So when they come home, they don't need to be battling you too. They don't need to be battling their, you. And I feel like during the first 5 years of marriage, that's really something that you have to work through, because especially before kids, we're kind of self-centered in a way. Like we think their world revolves around us and everything should revolve around us in our marriage. But you really just got to take a step back and look at it from his point of view. He's out there providing for you, working for you, and you need to be appreciative of that. When he gets home, he doesn't want to come home to a battlefield. So as a new wife, make your husband want to be home. Don't make him dread being home. Don't make him like, oh no, what kind of mood is she going to be in tonight? Be his oasis. So but yeah, Sarah said helping with the dishes. Ashley said he takes out the trash. The tiny things are romantic. They are. And then when you have that first child, Ashley and Joyce, and your husband's right there by your side the whole time, and then that baby is born and they put the baby on your chest, and you look at this beautiful miracle that you and your husband created together through your love, I feel like that's the most romantic thing in the entire world, at least to me. Those 8 times, nothing beats that in my life. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So just remember your priorities. It needs to be God, husband, rest of the family. Okay. Obviously, God is number one. Fear the Lord, keep his commandments, love him. If you do that, a lot of the other stuff's going to fall right into line, because if you love the Lord, then, part of that is loving your husband and part of that's loving your kids. So all that's going to fall in line when you have the main priority. That is super sad, Chanello. She said, my husband tells me about his coworkers that are happy to be at work because they're away from home. That's sad. You don't want that to be your husband. That would be really, really sad. My heart breaks for people that have horrible home lives. Obviously there's going to be stressful days, and there's going to be even situations with your kids where it's not all sunshine and roses. But overall, your home should be a home of peace and happiness, and just you can't live in a place that's a battlefield with just high levels of stress and be okay mentally. So I feel really bad for people who have war zones for a house, for a home. But yeah, just remember, when it comes to your husband, no one gets to bash your husband to you. My family's all been really good about this. His family's all been really good about this. I don't know. I feel like we have really good families on either side. So this isn't something we've had to deal with very much, but no one's going to talk bad about my husband to me. I'm just not going to listen to it. And this also falls in line with, obviously we've had arguments and we've had things we've had to work through, but those things stay between me and my husband. I don't tell other people about them. Not even my closest friends. I don't. That's something for only us. So have those things that are only for you, those memories that are only for you. Not everyone needs to know about the ins and outs of all your, every single second of every single day. have those different things that are just for you and him alone is another recommendation I would throw out there. So, and then be your husband's biggest advocate. You know, um, I see nothing biblically wrong with defending your husband when needed. There are lots of stories in the Bible about women that defended their husbands. So there's a story about Abigail, who defended someone who wasn't even godly. She defended him to David, and David was so impressed that he eventually ended up making her his bride. So I think in a way, men don't need us to defend them, but I don't know. I can't help but think I feel good when my husband defends me and my husband sticks up for me. So why would it be any different when, a husband has a wife that he knows would go to bat for him? There's stories in the Bible about it. So, um, you know, just be your husband's biggest advocate. Don't ever say negative things about him to other people. No one needs to hear that. Yes, we all have faults, but so do you. Do you want him going and sharing, which most men don't do this, but do you want your husband to go sharing all your faults to all his friends or broadcasting it from the rooftops? So why would you do that to your husband? I've always just tried to keep this in mind through my marriage, through everything, through my friendships. I try to be the friend that I want people to be to me. That's why when I do get hurt, and I find out people are lying about me, it really bothers me. And then even when it comes to my marriage, I try to be the spouse that I would want. I try to treat him the way I want to be treated. So a lot of times it's the golden rule. I know it's not technically in the Bible, it's the golden rule, right? But when you do things the way that you want, a lot of times it comes back to how you're treated. So I know that's what I agree, Sarah. She said he's part of me. Not defending him is like not defending myself. And that's the other thing, too. You are one. Why wouldn't you defend someone that you're one with? Why would you be okay with him going through things by himself and standing on his own? And, shall we bring up the story of Jael? She did the ultimate defending. She drove a tent stake through a head. So, yeah. What is the difference between bashing and coming to you about a concern that they feel is valid? You mean, yeah, no, I don't know who would have a problem with Aaron. Between bashing, like, are you worried about bashing him? Can you reword your question? So she said, with that, I wonder what's the difference between bashing and coming to you about a concern that they feel is valid. Who is they? Is it someone outside of your relationship, or is it your husband coming to you with a concern? Yeah, reword that question. I don't really know what you're getting at there. If it comes to someone has a concern about your husband that's coming to you about it, I don't think it's any of their business, honestly. I mean, you're the one married to him, so I would think that you would know more than anything. Or if you're talking about you don't want to bash your husband, but you want to go to your husband with a concern, then there are ways to word that. Let's say he has a pornography addiction. That's a big one for a lot of married people. Thankfully, I've never had to go through this, but more and more men are having this problem. So let's say you're worried about that. I would definitely go to him and tell him that you've noticed it is affecting your relationship. It's affecting his walk with God, and ask if he would be open to accountability. He needs to realize that that is something that he's going to need to realize that he needs to repent of on his own. If he has a nagging wife constantly on him about it, that might be tough. But if you have a valid concern, then I would definitely go to him. As far as going over his head to someone, if it's something illegal, then definitely yes, you need to get counsel on that matter. Always get, counsel when it comes to that. But when it comes to something that you've gone to him about before and he won't change it, there's not much you can do other than just really, really praying about it. And then having a really close friend that maybe you can vent to on the really tough days. I know for me, that's important. Just having someone to talk to about if you bottle it all up, that might cause you, like, actual sickness, ulcers, different things, physical health problems that can come from that. So maybe have like one very, very trusted, confident. I would recommend it not being any family, just because family tends to go to bat for you. And if they know something negative about your husband, they'll never forget it. So that's another reason I've never shared different, like if we have fights or something, you might get over it, but your family might not. So, but yeah, as far as him not wanting to change, as the wife, you know, you got to take it up to God in prayer and just realize, you know, I'm going to do what I know is right. I can't change him and I can't force him to do what's right, but I'm going to do what I know is right, and God will bless that. And he will. I've seen it in marriages. God will bless you, and he'll give you the strength to, you know, get through it. I've seen a lot in the ministry, so I have definitely seen it. Yes, prayer. God does work miracles, and he will work miracles. But you just do what you know is right, and you can't be constantly nagging him and on him, you know, trying to take the reins and be the spiritual leader. That just doesn't work in marriages, and it's probably going to drive him further away. And so that's what I would say. But remember, your husband's going to be there long after the kids leave. So once your kids leave, and I've gone long. I don't know how I find all this stuff to talk about. I know because I'm interacting with you guys too, but so your relationship with him comes before the relationship with the kids. You need to make him priority because he's going to be there long after they leave. So my biggest advice is don't let the grievances build up. You know, definitely work through your problems. Keep it in mind. This is for keeps. We have to work through these problems. There is no out. This has to be resolved. And, you know, marriage takes work, but it's the most important relationship you're ever going to have. So here on this earth, it's the most important human relationship that you will ever have. It goes before your girlfriends. You need to have more loyalty to your husband than to your girlfriends. You need to have more loyalty to your husband than to your family members. You need to have more loyalty to your husband than anyone else on earth. So that's just it, hands down. So, and yes, exactly, Joyce, because other people won't hold that information with the same love as you have for your husband. You should love your husband more than anyone else on earth does. So you're going to forgive him for things, whereas your family might not have that same love. They don't have that same love. So they're not going to forget, and they're going to remember it. So that is good advice. Exactly, Amber. I think that way all the time. I know as women, we like to vent and we like to complain about things sometimes, but when it comes to my husband, I don't complain about him to other people. You know, I would not like it if he was like sitting around with the guys from church, like, oh my goodness, Cassandra does this, Cassandra does that. I would hate that. So why would I do that to him? So just keep that in mind. How do you want to be treated? Well, treat your husband the same way. So, okay. So that is it for tonight. I did go long again. It's 8:07. My goodness. So I hope that was a little bit of a help. I went through a lot of stuff. If you have any other comments or questions or anything, just leave them down in the chat. Thumbs up, share the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. I think we're up to like, what are we at? I don't know. The subscriptions are going up. We are at 22,370 subscribers. So I noticed that it slowly goes up and up and up and up. So, you know, hopefully someone's getting a blessing from this. So, aw, that's the best thing, isn't it, Joyce? She said, I overheard my husband bragging on me and my heart. Yeah, it's the best thing when you hear your husband say something nice about you. And then Jessica said, it's sad how many mothers don't realize how important it is to put your marriage first before the kids, because it all trickles down. It absolutely does. And I feel like kids are the most secure when they know that you two are secure. You know, our kids are pretty well grounded because they've never had to worry, oh no, are they going to get divorced? You know, they're arguing. No, they've had to see us work through our issues, work through the arguments. That's why I don't necessarily think it's bad for you to have an argument in front of your kids, because then they see how you work through things. So, and they don't have to worry that one of us is leaving or something. So, but hopefully that was some good advice in there. You know, I'm looking into having a couple more guests on in the next couple weeks. So we'll see how that goes. Pray for me. I don't lose my sanity before my kitchen's done. And I hope you guys have a good week. Okay. We will see you next week. Bye, guys.